Welcome to my YouTube channel. It's called the Calligraphy channel, where we teach you how to perform the Vietnamese calligraphy. Vietnamese calligraphy is a kind of art which originated from the Chinese calligraphy. And calligraphy itself is a form of art where you change all the standard of how you normally write each of your letter, each of your word, each of your sentence in your daily life. Many of you were taught in schools that in order to have good handwriting, you should write your word neatly and nicely. So each of the strokes in your letter should have the same width, and each of the letters should be identical to each other, and then each of the words should be the same size, and it should follow on straight lines in order to make it neat and looks good. However, calligraphy is when you take it to the next level, where you change those standards, you make it different. No pieces of calligraphy should be identical to each other. You cannot do that at all, because it's the feeling. You use the feeling, the internal feeling, so that you alter the way that you write each of the words. It may have different clarity, it may have different transparency, it may have different gradients, and even the different sizes, where you have some words are big and some words are small, and even in a word, each of the letters, those things change and vary, um, and it's originated in China a very long time ago, like 3,000 years, 4,000 years, in BC, like 9th century BC, where people think that this could create to show their emotion, to express emotion in any time that they write a letter to somebody, or it's to perform a kind of artwork where you can hang there in your house. And then it spread it to Korea, to Japan, and then to Vietnam. In Vietnam, people used to use the Chinese characters in all of the writing, and then we invented our own writing system. It's called the gnome, that we use the Chinese strokes, but we made the combinations our own. And then in the 16th century, Alexander Rhodes came and brought us a wonderful alphabet, ABCD, that we have today. And then we added the D with a horizontal line. It just suits how the Vietnamese people talk and speak in the daily life. And then we followed the same concept from the Chinese calligraphy of altering all of the standards of how you handwrite all of the letters, the words that you use in your daily life, and we make it the art of Vietnamese calligraphy. And so in this channel, we'll be delivering you some of the knowledge about how to perform the Vietnamese calligraphy just in a basic level, so that you've got a kind of idea. Because I think that people are kind of interested in this kind of art. As I have sent out some of the survey to the international school in Saigon. And so now the first step is, what will you need in order to do the Vietnamese calligraphy? You cannot just like go with your bare hand and then just write whatever you want, but you need some special equipment. Now, the first one is the pen that you use. You do not use the ballpoint pen that you use to write in your notebook in school, where you write your math down, but you use something like a brush. It's the Chinese brush. It's have some of the hairs here, and then when you soak it into the ink, you can dip it, and then you can write it on paper, something like this, right? And then now talk about the ink. What kind of ink are we using? We're not using the queen ink, where you put into your pen and then you write it down on paper. This is a no, okay? You do not use acrylic or other watercolor. No, you use the special kind of ink, which is the ink stick that you will use together with a kind of ink stone, where you grind the ink stick with water, together with water, so that you can make the black and thick and shiny kind of ink, where you dip your brush into that and you start writing on paper. Right, this one. But nowadays people will not have time to just grind the ink and wait for it so that it's have the solid color, something like this that I've been using to perform those Vietnamese calligraphy. People use a liquid ink that already made, ready for use, and then people just pour it out to the inkstone, and then they will use it because it's easier, it's better quality, because if you don't have time, it's gonna be very bad for use. So people nowadays use this, and I also use that so that we don't waste any of the time. And then now about the paper. Actually, for calligraphy, you can use any kind of paper, but for calligraphy artwork, you are using a different kind of paper where they grind the shells of the sea animals, and then they mix it with the wooden powder in order to make a special kind of paper. But for today and for all of the tutorial, I think it's just necessary for us to use the normal A4 paper, so that because you want to learn the skills, not to do the performance of the Vietnamese calligraphy yet. Um, you should have a bowl of water too, because the water is for you, as I say, to grind those things or to dip the brush into that when it's dirty. For example, after a time, the ink dry, and you just dip into that so that it's wet again. And then you should have a rack so that you can hang your brush on that, so that it's, first of all, it looks nice to have one, and second of all, it's useful because when it's wet, you want it to hang down like that so that the brush stays straight and it's good. Now, it's a lot of things. You can have the paper stopper so that the paper won't fly away, and then you have the seal, which is actually is your name encrypted on something, inscripted on something like a seal stone, so that when you finish a kind of calligraphy work, you stamp it on here. You can have a big one, you can have a small one, whatever. You can have a huge one, something like this. It's called the seals, where you put your name on that. Here you can see my name, and then we dip it into the special kind of red ink, like the seal stamp ink, and then you put it on paper. That's how it's work. And I think that's all of the equipment that we need for calligraphy. And so you better prepare those things. Again, brush, ink, paper, your seal, your paper stopper, and then any additional things that you may want, like incense burner here, or you want to have a teapot, whatever you want, or you can even have your iPod or with you so that you can listen to music, your earphones, whatever. But those are the key things that you should have in order to professionally perform Vietnamese calligraphy. Chậm lên. Action. So the last two papers that you see on screen, it's an example of how you do the Vietnamese calligraphy. So it's the time strain, and it's also not very good quality because like I did it here with not with the emotions, but just trying to show you what is happening when you do the Vietnamese calligraphy, how you use the brush, and how it's different things are performing on screen. So just don't care about the quality, just to get you to know about how you actually do the Vietnamese calligraphy like a master. Okay, so before going on any further, I'd like to show you how to hold the brush. So it's a brush, it's like this. You can either hold by many different ways. It's actually so that you are comfortable, but don't, if you are comfortable in weird ways, then don't do it. So the standard pen holding position is like when you use three fingers like this, and then you just go ahead and write onto the paper. And then there's a professional calligraphy. It's actually hold like this. It's the correct way of how to do a calligraphy pen holding position. But this is very hard because you can see it's the your pinky finger should hold like this, and then it's different position. It's actually to keep the pen straight onto any of the paper. You keep the pen straight so that when you write anything, it's actually straighter and it's going in straight lines. However, I do not recommend this because it's actually very hard to do. And I myself, I'll prefer the pen holding position of like the normal things. And then when you start writing things, it actually just looks as good as when you hold it in the hard way or the professional way like this. You can choose because what is comfortable with you, because calligraphy is about emotion, it's not about having a formula or having a standard of how you do a certain thing. It is actually about how you put your emotion into that and express it as words, and the way that you write about the words. Now, and the next things is like how you position yourself on the paper. You shouldn't be like this, as your teacher may have told you in the schools that you shouldn't do that because it's gonna hurt your back, hurt your neck. Well, I don't mind, but it's not the correct way of sitting in a calligraphy room and then you do. If you do like that, your calligraphy won't look good. Trust me, I have overcome that because I've done this for 7 years. And there's a lot of things that I've done which proven very stupid, and I don't want you to repeat that. So, right. So that's the pen holding, and the position should be straight. You should be straight, maybe a little bit leaning toward the paper. I mean, it's comfortable to you, but just don't lean it so that you lie on your table and things like that. So just normally relax the pose, the relaxed pose, and then you just dip in that, and then you start writing. Right? You just do that.
Yep.
So I've talked for a lot. Now I just talk for a little bit more, and then I'll perform to you in a higher quality, hopefully. Because so now I will slow it down a little bit so that I'll now give you how the professional Vietnamese calligraphy looks like, and how it's different from the Chinese calligraphy. In the Chinese calligraphy, you have a lot of strokes where people they use the Chinese characters, right? So Vietnamese, we just use the normal alphabet. You can actually use the Vietnamese calligraphy and adapt it to write in English, in Spanish, or in any kind of language that use the normal alphabet. Um, so you can use that in your own language as long as it's using the modern alphabet as we are using today. And now I will show you, and I'll try to write in Vietnamese. I'll try to write in English, and I'll write it in Spanish so that you get the idea of how to perform it professionally. So I will slow it down a little bit so that it could be better and the quality can be improved. So this is the Vietnamese calligraphy, and it's actually a sentence. It means that you understand the life. It's not following a patterns. It's actually developed in its own ways, and there's a different left and right that you need to decide. You need to turn. You need to understand that you need to make decisions. There's important decisions to make. It's not pink. It's not organized, and it's not perfect. So that's the meaning of this work, and I mean it's also linked to the concept of calligraphy, where you're actually altering all the standard because standard does not appear in real life. In reality, you do not have standard. You adapt and you live. That's it. And this is a kind of Vietnamese calligraphy. I hope that this is better quality, and I think it was. Um, so I hope you get the idea of how you perform. It's like sometimes you press the brush down to make the thick and wide strokes, and sometimes you thin it so that it's create the different black and white strokes, something like this. And then this the big words, and then you into the small words, into the details, and then to my signature, where you have different styles where you just move and you put your emotion into that. You express your emotions. So for example, this is an emotion of like chill. For example, I'm not sad, I'm not happy, but I'm just chill. And I put that kind of emotion to here, and you see the strokes are just like flying around. It's not following a patterns. Normally, you won't write an N like this. You won't write a G like this. You won't write an O like this. But you write in a very neat and identical to each other. Like the N, G, O, it should be small, and then it's similar to kind of pattern. And now you make it the N goes here, the G here, but accidentally the O is moving downwards, something like this, and it's like this is a kind of representing a face where you can see the eyes and the mouth here and the eyebrows here. It's actually calligraphy. It's not you need to represent something, but because I feel like representing a face here, and that's why I put it in. And if you whether you can see a face or not, it's not important because it's my intention to do so. And if you do not get that intention, it's also fine because there's no must or should in calligraphy. They're just basic things that you need to learn in order to get the idea of how to perform Vietnamese calligraphy. So this is in Vietnamese. Now I will do one in English so that you get a kind of idea of how you can adapt to many different languages. Right, now you have seen the English version of Vietnamese calligraphy. So I actually tried to reduce the complexity of the word so that it's easier and it could be read by anyone looking at this. Actually, calligraphy is actually more crazy. Sometimes you put the word just like the Vietnamese calligraphy that I just performed before. It's actually not following any patterns. Now I'm trying to make it a bit calmer so that you can see. I apologize for the sound on the street because it's noisy out there, but I can't help. Anyway, now this is um, the English calligraphy. Well, following the concept of calligraphy, um, is the silence that you created is the most powerful. Well, it's not a thing. Well, I just thought about that at the top of my mind. So you don't need to understand the meaning of this sentence, but you get the idea. The silence that you created is the most powerful. Well, so you can see how the words are formed here. It's not like when you're writing in your notebook for humanities or for science. Well, you don't write things like this, but now you use a brush and you see different thickness. Here's very thick, it's very thin, and then you can see sometimes it's cut like this and it's going up, sometimes it's going down and it's super long, maybe ridiculously long. Horizontal lines at the T, where you see here is short and here's ridiculously long. Why? I want it to be like that. That's it. To be frank, here it's what I want to write, and then you have no right to tell me what to do. Okay? Okay. So this English calligraphy, following the concept of Vietnamese calligraphy, is following. It's using the alphabet, so there's no problem. And now I'll perform the Spanish calligraphy, following the same concept, so that you got the idea. So the thing that you have seen is the Spanish Espanol calligraphy. So it's following the same similar concept, and so you can see here there's a quote: "El mejor momento para comenzar es ahora." So it's like the moments that you should need to care about. It's like now. So it's actually have the meaning of like that. You don't care about the meaning, okay? Now you care about the strokes that I've done. So you see those are small while those are big. And you see the difference in sizes and the difference in depth and it's the different clarity. You can see some is thick and some is small like here. So it's following the similar concept because it's actually the same alphabetical kind of format of the letters, and you could see here it's actually the same. And this one as well, I'm reducing the complexity of the words so that I write in a clearer way. Hopefully that you can get the idea of how to read it, how to see it, how to actually try to look at that and understand which what of the word is an E or L, M, E, J, O, R, whatever. Um, so well, this the Spanish calligraphy following the similar concept, and so you've seen me performing the three different languages. It's actually following the Vietnamese calligraphy style, which I think now you have a better idea of how the Vietnamese calligraphy look like. Maybe you see like my handwriting about the calligraphy is different from what you have seen in the TED holiday, where you go to District 1, you see a lot of people, they're writing the similar things, or you may have seen some people hang around the wall, or in school, or whatever, in your house. It's just different because every person's handwriting, even for the calligraphy, is different. And you can see that we have different emotions, different style. If you try to compare these things together of the English version or the Vietnamese version that I've done before, it's actually different. No words are identical. Although I'm using the letter A or the letter E or the letter B, C, whatever. Those letters won't look the same in all of the three because every time you write it with a different style because the different of the emotions expression you have at that time, it's just totally different. Well, so you have seen that, and now I'll try to perform professionally. Now a full complexity of how the Vietnamese calligraphy actually looks like. So this is to get you the final idea of when you're reaching the professional level. I'm not a master. Well, I'm not saying that I'm a master, but at least if you practice for 7 and 8 years, you get this kind of level where you express your emotion on paper as the complexity of the words change, and now I'll do it for you. So please have a look at this. So this is a full high level complexity, and I doubt that any of you could read this one. It's in Vietnamese and it's read okay. So if any one of you know Vietnamese or any one of you are Vietnamese, now keep it up with me. Hỏi thế gian tình ái là gì? So, well, the meaning behind this one is like you ask all over the word, what is love? It's a kind of poetic sentence, but you shouldn't care about the meaning. Now you see the I here, it's super duper long, and the I here is also long, but the I here is short. The T here is super thick, but the E at the end of the word, it's smaller and it's thinner. And you can see there's some white, black and white smash here. You could see like very long, and then the L is integrated with the I, and you see the how the question marks is actually different, where it's like a reverse letter S, and there's a hook at the I here up here rather than it's just a short and straight edge here. So you see, it's actually very different from each other. And some people, if they do not understand calligraphy or they are very conservative about how to write, how to perform handwriting, like handwriting stuff like this. For example, if I bring this to the Victorian era in England back in the 19th century, people said, this sucks. Because why? It doesn't look good at all in a conservative manner and doesn't look identical to each other. It doesn't look neat and tidy. and everything is the same. It's not balanced, but you can see something is big, something is small. But I put my emotion into here by asking, what is love? That question evokes you a lot of emotion. Now, I'm not trying to show you the literacy effect or some rhetorical question here. Well, I'm not a literature teacher after all. But you see the thing here where you put your emotion in that, it's very different compared to the English version or the Spanish version that I've done before, because this is a full complexity where you have like 7 and 8 years of calligraphy. You should be knowing how to do something like this, and you can see it comes naturally, the organization of different components, the different composition of the words here. So that's all about the introduction that I've had with you. I've shown you a lot of different things and examples of performing calligraphy. The first sections of performing calligraphy is not so good. It's not the highest quality that I can. So I apologize for that, but that is just to get you an idea. And so to sum up the conclusion, what you will get, it's the basic information about calligraphy and how it's the origin and how it's developed throughout the history, and then the different thing to prepare for calligraphy, for Vietnamese calligraphy. So that those includes the brushes, the ink, the seal, the paper stopper, and any decorative that you put on your table so that you feel comfortable about that. So just keep in mind, get the correct brush, get the correct ink, maybe an ink bottle like this, or the professional old-fashioned style ink stickles, ballpoint pen or fountain pen ink or acrylic color. It won't look good. And then the seal, you can make one your own by plastic, by wood, by copper, by bronze, by brass, by stone, by jade, or whatever, right? And then those paper, just use paper, the normal A4 paper for now, because it's easier for you to practice, and it won't need a lot of control in like controlling the brush so that the ink soak well. You don't need to care about that at the moment, but you just need to care about how to write the words, and that will lead you to the section number 2, where I will show you the different basic strokes for like the to perform the calligraphy, and I will show you the alphabet of that and many different things so that you can actually start with the process of learning Vietnamese calligraphy. This is just for the absolute beginners who doesn't know or barely knows anything about the Vietnamese calligraphy, and so you can get a lot from this or you can get little from this. It's up to you and your level. Even with some people that they know a lot about calligraphy, I think it's also helpful, so that you can have a kind of like fact check about this. You can go and check online about what I'm saying, or you can relook at how I perform my examples, and does it look good and appealing to you. You can change it so it adapt you, or you can copy, but don't make it exactly the same. Don't think about the formula, anything. Don't think about any standard, because the point of Vietnamese calligraphy is to create. It's to promote your creativity and your expression of emotions into the words that you put on the paper. So just keep in mind the key things, materials. So see you again in the second tutorial session of our channel. Thank you. Goodbye.